Okay, so this is step one in paint preparation. If you look, my fiberglass thing is still pretty rough. So basically what I'm going to do is hit this really hard with some 80 grit sandpaper, get it all nice and smooth. Then we're going to probably hit it with some 320. Then we're going to coat the whole thing again in Bondo. And then basically do the same thing again, go 80 grit, 320, and then I'll probably finish with a hand sand with 400 grit. And then start painting. But first we got to do is get it all nice and smooth and square and get rid of all these slaps and all that stuff. So let's see how she goes.
Tell me who's been naughty tonight. Now that ain't me. Tell me who's been naughty tonight. I the blues about you so hard, Annie. You done taking my appetite. Get off my gas stove.
Okay, so basically that's the process here, is just add Bondo, sand it down rough until you got a perfectly smooth edge, and then I'll fine sand and primer this. But I just got one section. This I didn't quite get enough Bondo on it, so I got to add a little bit here and fill in these two grooves, and then we're good with this piece.
I love you, baby. Don't pay me no mind. You know I love you, anyway. Don't pay me no mind. Boy, I be your dog, anyway. I'm gonna eat your bad luck town. That's little Annie Mae. That's the gal I was in love with.
And then I just real quickly wanted to mention why wet sand, and it's very simple. There's no reason other than to clean your sandpaper as you go. If I were to be sanding with this 400 grit without water, it would just get filled up with this Bondo and glazing putty instantly. But when you wet sand, it just cleans out the sand, so you can keep using the same piece. And I've been using this piece for all 4 pieces.
She put me down, put me on the road. So I written that song about her. So every once in a while, I can't get off of mine. I have to play that number.
Okay, so the filler primer didn't work nearly as good as advertised. I guess there's no real surprise there. So what I've done now is I've gone to a cheaper conventional primer, and I've just bought glazing putty, and it's working pretty good. Essentially it's same kind of thing as Bondo, a little less strong, better for small fixes, but the beauty is it's only a one part system, so you can just mix it as you need it and then apply it just to the little areas like this. I got a couple streaks here that I want to smooth out, and I don't want to mix Bondo, you know, just for that little blemish. So this stuff's been working really good. Highly recommend it.
Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go. Baby, you'll leave me. Do I love this song? Turn your lamp down low. Turn your lamp down low. That make you old and on. Where your man gone? Where your man is gone with me kind come with the shackles on. What be your dog? What be your dog? What be your dog in the way down here? I'll make you walk the dog.
Alright, so this tailpiece is now set up for its final priming. Basically, now done all the dirty sanding. Now I'm going to do one more coat of primer and go to a finer grade sandpaper, a 600, and then give it a once time over, polish her up, and start painting.
Got me way down here. Got me way down here. Got me way down here about rolling folks that treat me like a dog, baby, please.
So as you see here from the previous owner, I got a couple tiny little dents. So now I'm just going to fill those with Bondo and then keep sanding with 80 grit sandpaper.
The title of this is a low-down dirty shame. Low-down dirty shame. Shame. Low-down dirty shame. Crazy about a married woman, boy, but yeah. I got a woman down in Cuba. I got one in Spain. Got a woman in London. Ain't with them. Yeah, to call her name Michelle. Go down dirty shame.
Well, I can't believe it's actually time to start painting. And product that I'm using now, because I've got so much Bondo on this job, is filler primer. Basically what it does is it sits real thick and gives you a lot more depth to wet sand between coats. So you'll see once this sets up, I'm going to wet sand this and give it another coat. Hopefully that'll be enough. If not, I'll go 3 times. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but this is exactly why I like to do a quick coat of primer. Is there's a little bit of excess Bondo here that was really hard to see before I put some primer on this tank, and now you put primer on it and you can see it straight away.
You people, what happened in Memphis, Tennessee yesterday?
And one of the other things I like to do is, I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but I like to mix my primer colors, just so as I'm sanding, I can get a good kind of view of what I've sanded and what I haven't sanded yet. So, and the other thing about glazing primer, which differs from Bondo, is it's supposed to be applied to primed surfaces. So that's why I'm just doing another round of primer. Then I'll hit it with the glazing putty, then wet sand, and then we'll see. Maybe start painting and wet sanding, or maybe go back, do some more primer and wet sanding.
What happened in Memphis, Tennessee yesterday?
Okay, so you can see probably that the 400 grit sandpaper still leaves a little bit of streaking. So now I'm transferring to 600 grit, and because I've got so many pieces on the go, I'm going to transfer to gray primer. So I know the gray primer ones are set to 600 and the red primer are still at 4.
I'm on some mean old man. Yeah, Dr. Luther can't wait.
Okay, so now this piece has been fully primed, and essentially at some point you just got to call your prep work good enough. Being this a race bike, not a show bike, I'm not doing the full, you know, major effort, but I'm doing a pretty good job. And so now I switch from 400 to 600, and now when I wet sand, what I do differently is with the 400 you're still shaping the piece, you're looking for high spots, and you're basically shaving down that putty or any filler that you put in to fix any spots. Now all I'm doing is polishing the orange peel off. Essentially any sort of a spray system, the way it atomizes the paint is always going to leave you with kind of a dotted top edge, and layer upon layer you end up kind of getting more and more bumpy as you go. So if you polish each layer up to your final coat, you end up with a real smooth, nice finish. Hopefully. We'll see how it works out. So now this is wet sanding with 600 grit. And the key is not to over sand. In previous sanding exercises, I've been going down to the bare metal or the bare fiberglass still, as I find high spots and sand them down. But now in this case, I don't want to go, I can go up to my red primer, that's fine, but I don't want to go past my primer. Back to bare metal, then I kind of back to square one if I do that. So just light pressure, even strokes, I guess it's different for every piece, and you know, this method of prep I actually appreciate, with all these layers of sanding and all these layers of spray bombing, is that you actually learn the piece you're working on quite well. And by the time now when I go to paint, I've already spray bombed it a number of times, so I have a pretty good handle on what kind of angles to use and can strokes, etc. to use. So it's all good.
Well, mama, look at sis. Down in the backyard, darn that twist, gonna shake your book.